Hi viewers, this is Salahuddin and with lecture number 11. Today we will talk about the Hanaverian succession and from where and how the Hanaverian succession started and when it was started. So, and we will also talk about the political and constitutional significance of the Hanaverian succession. In the previous lecture, we have talked about Judge One, who also belongs to the same dynasty Hanaverian. And today we will talk about the succession and its constitutional and political importance. Right? So, who were Hanaverian? Right, this is the first question, and we talked in detail on the topic, but giving you a brief through over the Hanaverian. Those came from the Hanover. Hanover is a place or even a state in Germany at that time. So that place is known as Hanover, and the kings, those who were invited to the throne of England, is known as the Hanoverian dynasty. And of course, we are not going in that detail how they came and what were the relation, how they came to England, to the throne of England. That's another debate in another topic, and we have talked in detail on the same topic. But today we will talk about the uh, political and constitutional significance of the Hanoverian succession. Uh, this The Hanoverian dynasty starts from the 1714 with the arrival of George I, whose earlier name was George Lewis. The succession of Hanoverian dynasty to throne of England in 1714 is considered to be an event of great historical and has a great historical significance both in constitutional as well as in political developments of England. Right. Okay. Constitutional significance. First, starting with the constitutional significance. First importance is the in the constitution and the realm of the constitutional significance. End of the divine right of kings and hereditary succession. Uh, in 1714, when the parliament made a German a king of uh, foreign origin, leaving aside the hereditary claim occupy the throne of England, and it became vividly clear the hereditary claim and the theory of divine right had no place in England. How end of the divine right of the kings and hereditary succession, how this thing was ended of there, mean the divine right of kingship, how this was ended. This is the first constitutional significance. In this way, when a king from of foreign origin, of course he was of Hanover, Germany, he came to the throne and leaving aside the hereditary claim and the hereditary right to kingship was completely discouraged here, and there were about 57 claimants to the throne of England, who had kind of either heredity inheritance to this kingship, or either they were regarded as the honor of having the right of divine right of kingship. So this was the first point, and the first importance is the end of the divine right of kingship. Second importance, constitutional importance, was the increase in the power and the duration of the parliament. George I of the Hanoverian dynasty occupied the English throne by an act of parliament. And that act of parliament was the act of settlement that we talked on in the previous lecture. And that act of settlement took place in 1701. And the succession of Hanaverian dynasty was Trump applying in a great success of the parliament because it empowered the parliament to settle the right of kingship. Now the parliament had the power and the authority to decide this right, that who could succeed to to the right to the kingship. And secondly, George I and George II never veto any bill that was passed by the parliament. And so this was another importance in the same, that how the parliament become powerful, and the duration of the parliament was also increased. So George I and George II, George II's reigns starts from 1727. We will talk in the next lecture on George II as well. Here, mm, uh, the bill passed by the parliament was never vetoed by any of the Georges. Thus, the power of the parliament increased, and how the duration of the parliament was increased. Earlier, when William m- uh, formed his ministry from the Whig Party in 1794, yes, at that time it was decided the lifespan of the parliament shall be 3 years, but now in 1716 a septennial act was passed, and according to this act, the lifespan of the parliament shall be 7 years. And the same act was keep intact for the last 200 years, and until 1911, the parliament reduced this span to just 5 years. So this is another importance, constitutional importance, that increased the power of the parliament and the duration of the parliament was increased. And third and most important was the foundation of the party system was further strengthened. The Hanoverian created a great tension between Whig and Tory parties. When Judge became the king of England, he chooses all his ministers, as we talked in the previous. He chooses all his ministers from the Whig party and did not allow any share to the Tories in the government. Thus, the party system of government grew rapidly. We also talked in detail why the king chooses minister from a single party, because he had a lot of problems in running the administration. Thus, the king chooses all his ministers from the same party, from one party, to smoothly run the administration. So thus this coming of a single party while running the government, mm, uh, exactly and precisely smoothen the way for the parties in England. So this was another importance, constitutional importance, and fourthly, uh, George I and George II, who neither knew English nor interested in the English politics. And both of them, they were neither interested, they were of foreign origin, though they were Protestant by faith, and they were by foreign origin, and thus they knew nothing regarding the English history, the English politics, and even the English culture, and above all the English language. So thus they leave all the matters to the ministers, or to those who uh, have been selected by the parliament, leaving all the matters in the hands of those people who were running the state, the affairs of the state. And the Hanoverian kings thus developed the cabinet system as well in England. Because they could not understand the English, and the discussion in the parliament would take place in English language. Thus, they would leave the matters on those ministers. This was another constitutional importance, that the things were given to the parliament. The matters were left on the mercy of the parliament. And the fifth and most important was the office of the prime ministership was established. right? The office of the prime ministership was established. This starts from here, right from here. Judge 1 and Judge 2, who know nothing regarding England and in culture, politics, and English language. Uh, the discussion would take place in English language, and they could not understand the language. Therefore, they would absented themselves. They would absent themselves from the parliament, and the realms of the parliament were given to those ministers who were discussing the affairs of the state. Thus, the both of the judge would select one person from the ministers, an able one, who would chair the meeting, and thus the person was called as the prime minister. So this is the constitutional significance and the political significance of Hanaverian succession. The first one is England was dragged in the European politics, and earlier England would follow the policy of splendid isolation. We will also talk about the splendid isolation once followed by the English. And it was only the England was dragged in the European politics. This is the political significance. Is the first point here, and it was only for the protection of Hanoverian that England fought the War of Austrian Succession. We will talk in detail about the Austrian Succession. They fought this war because to protect the paternal state of of Hanoverians, that was of course Hanover, and even George II himself led the army at that time. And once Fit the Elder, who later on became the Prime Minister of England, uh, uh, ignore Hanover, the interest of the Hanover. He was straightly dismissed from the position. Thus, England was dragged into the politics. This was the first point, and why it was dragged into the European politics. Secondly, revolts of the Jacobites. Uh, Two serious Jacobite revolts of 1715 and 1745. And these revolts were against the Hanoverian succession to the throne of England. The revolts occurred, that was of course against the Hanoverian succession, and the main objective was to overthrow Hanoverian king and restore the Stout king. Who were the Stouts? And the Stouts was James II and onward. The kings that were before the James II and the Glorious Revolution. So the revolts took place in order to restore the Stouts and overthrow the Hanoverians. And the supporter of the Stouts, those are called Jacobites, and the dynasty is known as Stout dynasty. But those were suppressed with heavy hands or with high iron hands. Uh, the Tory party was already supporting them, and they were, of course, the follower of some uh, supporting the divine rightship, right of kingship, and thus the Hanoverians suppressed the Tory party and degraded them as well, while the Whigs, who were against this policy of Tory, and the Whig won the favor of the Judge One or the Hanoverian. Thus, they became the more afferent in the parliament. So this was the second political importance, that those revolts were successfully suppressed and met with very bad results. And the third important reason of the political significance of the Hanoverian succession is the supremacy of the Whig was established. The supremacy of the Whig was established in this way. that the all the ministers were chosen from the Whig party, because the Whig were favoring or were in favor of the Hanaverian dynasty, because they were not following the policy of divine rightship, kingship, while Tory, on the other hand, they were following the policy of divine rightship, of kingship, and they were also supporting the Jacobites, the Stouts. Thus, the Whig part, the Tory party became belittled by the George won, and the Whig become victorious in all aspects and won the favor of the king. Thus, the Whig became the most favored party of the king. So, thus the Whig party was established as the supremacy of the Whig party was established. In talking about the general significance of this succession, Hanauri succession, and generally, if we see religiously, they were not that much as the earlier the kings were, and and religious in the religious confinements. But now the Hanawarin, they almost lost regard for the church, and people also lost their belief in church, and people kind of in the 17th century, if we see, uh, the church supported the divine right of the kingship, and Hanoverian, the Whig, they were against this thing. So the Hanoverian kings created a great disregard for the church because they were of the divine right of kingship. So the Hanoverian succession had many constitution, political, and religious significance. This is all about the Hanoverian succession. And in this topic, if there is any question, must ask in the comment section. I'm there to answer your question. And thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you so much.